US's Caribbean News Desk, I'm Dennis Chabrol. First, the headlines. Guyana seeks international help to authenticate tape in which the Attorney General is heard talking about a likely armed attack on a newspaper. Dominica's opposition says it's ready for the December 8th general election. Trinidad to buy mosquitoes to fight those mosquitoes that are spreading chikungunya and dengue. And we hear about how Grenada is breathing new life into agriculture. Details coming up.
We are one Caribbean, one people, one nation. To say destiny, to separated we are. As one, let's come together. One market economy. Caribbean is how it should be. Let's support, carry on for Caribbean unity. It takes you, it takes me for Caribbean unity.
The Guyana government is seeking international help to authenticate a telephone recording purportedly containing the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlall's voice, making a number of controversial statements. Head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, told a news conference that an entity in North America has been asked to verify the tape.
The application of technology for nefarious purposes, interception and manipulation, distortion, that it would be investigated locally and we would be seeking external support, and indeed instructions have been so given to enlist support, I know for a fact, externally.
Vice Chairman of the Alliance for Change AFC, Moses Nagamootoo, said that the issue is not so much about the authenticity of the tape.
The issue here is not the tape or the length of the tape or the authenticity of the tape. It is really what the Attorney General himself has said by implication. I said those things, but I said those things to my buddy. So he hasn't said anything to distance the content of the tape, of the conversation. He's saying it was in private. This is an Attorney General that is there for 24 hours a day. So you have to own up to what you have said. Whether you're saying it to your friend, you're saying it in the capacity that you hold.
The Attorney General's voice is heard in a privately recorded telephone conversation with a journalist at the privately owned Kaieteur News newspaper, urging him to leave his job there because persons had planned an armed attack on that media house because they were aggrieved by a number of articles. Mr. Nandlall's voice was also heard asking the reporter to facilitate sexual relations between a female reporter and a relative of that government official. A number of civil society organizations, including the Bar Association and the Transparency Institute of Guyana, Inc., have called for the Attorney General's resignation. The government has, however, defended the Attorney General, saying that the recording was obtained illegally and has been manipulated. President Donald Ramotar has already ruled out the tape being edited. In Dominica, the opposition United Workers' Party, or UWP, says it is ready for general elections to be held on December 8th. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit on Wednesday announced the immediate dissolution of the parliament and the naming of November 18 as nomination day. Major campaign issues include alleged corruption, low wages, and the poor state of the economy. Speaking with the media, Joshua Francis, an economist and lawyer who will be contesting for the first time, said his UWP team is ready for the task ahead.
The Dominicans now have a choice, and they have to ask themselves a question. It's a question of the conscience. Do you really love Dominica? And if you do, clearly, not only the Dominican Labour Party has failed economically, but they have shown us not to stand for principles and morals. And I always say we are a country of Christians, and every right-thinking Dominican should conclude that it's time for the Dominican Labour Party to be out of power.
A poll conducted by Barbadian pollster Peter Wickham shows the opposition UWP having an 18-point lead over the incumbent Dominican Labour Party. As Guyanese prepare to return to the polls in early general and regional elections, the Alliance for Change, or AFC, believes that if President Donald Ramotar ends up with another minority government, there should be some form of executive power sharing. President Donald Ramotar has already threatened to suspend or dissolve Parliament and call elections if the opposition refuses to deal with the government's parliamentary agenda and instead goes ahead with a no-confidence motion. Vice Chairman of the Alliance for Change, Moses Nagamootoo, told a news conference that another People's Progressive Party civic-led administration will send a strong message. That another People's Progressive Party civic-led minority administration will send a strong message that not only the majority of the opposition parliamentarians do not have confidence in the government. The former long-serving PPP member says that another minority government should create the opportunity for a coalition government.
It could, in those circumstances, what it is avoiding, it could do what it should have done. Concede that a minority government can take the presidency, but that the government itself has to be formed from the elected representative of parliament. In other words, you have to move to the next stage of how to make minority governments work. And the way to make minority governments work is by coalition building. So this government has repudiated coalition building in the past. So we'll see how, if it is re-elected with a plurality, how it treats that in the future. Because then the country and the electorate would become fed up of having this same kind of pantomime replaying all over again.
The AFC-sponsored no-confidence motion is on the parliamentary agenda for next Monday, the first sitting since the parliamentary recess ended on October 10. Trinidad and Tobago may buy genetically modified mosquitoes in a bid to reduce the population of mosquitoes that spread dengue fever and the chikungunya virus in the territories. The Trinidad Express newspaper reported on Thursday that Health Minister Howard Khan said the final decision will depend mostly on consideration of cost. The proposal targets the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which is the main vector for spreading dengue endemic to the Caribbean, and the chikungunya virus, which arrived in the Caribbean and South America quite recently. The idea is to release males whose genes have been modified so that when they mate with females, the resulting eggs contain a protein that prevents the young mosquitoes from reaching adulthood. Created in Britain in 2002, the technique has been implemented successfully in Brazil and the Cayman Islands. Brazil's first facility to produce genetically modified mosquitoes opened in July. The latest report from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, or CARF, says that Trinidad and Tobago has 96 confirmed chikungunya cases as of October 31. Tired of waiting for the Brazilian government to get around to protecting the territory, the Munduruku Indians in Brazil have begun marking their ancestral lands in Amazon region on their own. The area claimed by the Indians, called the Sauri Muibu, is a jungle zone, 178,000 hectares, or about 700 miles the size in the northern state of Para, where about 300 Mundurukus live, and where the government intends to build 2 hydroelectric facilities. The Spanish news agency Agencia Efe quotes missionary Aroldo Pinto, with the Indigenous Missionary Council, as saying that the Indians are carving a pathway out of the jungle and are being guided with a GPS device as they mark the zone with stakes in the hope that a government will recognize their efforts after the fact. About 70 Indians from the tribe, which is one of the most numerous in the southeastern Amazon jungle, began delimiting the ancestral lands on October 16. The official process of delimiting the reservation was launched in January 2001, and in 2013 the Funai National Indian Foundation finished the report that will allow the zone to be protected. However, the document has still not been officially published, and so it has not yet entered into force, and thus the Mundurukus do not yet have exclusive rights to the land there. The Indians accuse the government of not wanting to protect the lands so that it can build the hydroelectric centers in the area, projects that, according to the original plans, will flood part of the Sauri Muibu region. The Mandarucos issued a statement confirming that they will not negotiate with the government until the official project to protect the Sauri-Murimu zone is completed. Britain's Cable and Wireless Communications plc plans to buy Barbados-based Columbus International Inc. for $1.85 billion in order to increase its presence in the Caribbean region. Besides paying $1.85 billion in cash and the CWC shares, the purchaser will assume Columbus's $1.17 billion debt, according to a statement. Columbus is a multinational telecommunications and internet company providing services to more than 700,000 clients in the Caribbean, Central America, and the Andean region. In the Caribbean, Columbus operates under the name Flow in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, and Curacao. CWC already operates in the region under the Lime brand. Small-scale farmers in Grenada are planting everything from cherries to the so-called miracle herb moringa as part of efforts to create a new export crop and reinvigorate the island's agricultural sector. A program developed by IFAD, the United Nations International Fund for Agriculture Development, aims to put their products on the map. Over the next 3 years, over 12,000 farmers in the Caribbean island state will receive funds and training to transform their ideas into viable businesses. Joanne Lefferton of the United Nations Radio has more.
This is the Caribbean island Grenada. Its scenery is breathtaking. Its hillsides lush with flowers and fruit. But it's not all a tropical paradise. Unemployment here is more than 30%, and youth migration out the country is high. On top of this, the island is right in the path of hurricanes. There's little evidence now of Hurricane Ivan that destroyed 90% of the island a decade ago. But agricultural production is still half of what it used to be. Byron Campbell manages the Market Access and Rural Development Program.
We're talking about, before Ivan, agricultural export being over 100 million. Now we are way below this amount, not even 50% of it.
But now Byron Campbell is managing a new government project that aims to change this. With funding from the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD, Byron and his team are working to restore agriculture's place in the economy. To do this, they have to help farmers to access markets beyond their borders. And the key, says Byron, is for farmers to make better use of what they have.
Look more at your natural resources. Look at what you have, because invariably we are finding there are resources, there are local resources that we can adopt, we can turn around, we can use for our own development.
One farmer who has started doing just this is Celia Houston. Her family farms everything they can, from cherries to bees to corn. But they have always struggled to earn a living. But when Celia became sick a few years ago, she stumbled on a new opportunity. She was cured by a nutritious herb called moringa and was inspired to produce it herself.
We put our all to it because college bills to pay, high school to take care of, utility bills to take care of. It's a lot.
But Celia could go only so far on her own. She has her product, but she doesn't know how to sell it. And this is where Byron and his team come in. They're teaching farmers like Celia not only how to transform their ideas into viable businesses, but how to market and pitch them.
You take the thing that you're most confident about and you start there.
I'm a living testimony for moringa. So I'm looking forward to where I could get a market outside.
And Byron and his team will help Celia to access these outside markets by providing financial support. According to the funding organization IFAD, this is the best way to get Grenada's agricultural products back on the global map. Paulo Silveri is the Grenada Country Program Manager for IFAD.
The idea is to invest on quality and to let the world know about these products so that they can reach everywhere and that production and agricultural production can be expanded.
And to ensure that this agricultural expansion takes place, over the next 3 years, the project aims to invest in more than 12,000 farmers like Celia, helping them to turn their small-scale farming into viable businesses. Joanne Leviton, United Nations.
And that's the end of today's edition of Caribbean News Desk. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget you can visit us on our website at caribnewsdesk.com, or also on our Facebook page. We're on facebook.com/CaribNewsDesk, and also on Twitter at twitter.com/damwaves. If you'd like to advertise on our program, you can drop us a line at caribnewsdesk@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us.